insight that shines at the end of the chain, deconstructing the unconscious in daily life. Human life is a continuous sequence of countless choices. The significance or insignificance of these choices often torments us in unexpected ways before they fade into obscurity within the flow of time. The daily routine of an office worker being inherently repetitive and planned becomes a prime example of how minor past mistakes or unconscious thoughts manifest over time. The bullwhip effect in supply chains is not merely a logistics issue, it serves as a representative metaphor for the dynamics of cause and effect flowing through the structure of life. On the other hand, Buddhist investigative practice is a spiritual technique aimed at deconstructing this chain of cause and effect and exploring its roots, offering significant insights in deconstructing the unconscious in daily life. This paper aims to illuminate the concerns and practical directions of modern office workers through the analysis of the causal chains and investigative methods presented in these two texts. 1. The whip always rings at the end. Errors projected from life system. The bullwhip effect, chain reaction, in supply chains is not merely a logistics problem. This phenomenon describes how small errors within a connected system, from production to consumption, exponentially amplify over time. For example, an inaccurate demand forecast at the planning stage leads to product flaws, which result in inventory imbalances in the distribution chain, ultimately leading to price increases or shortages for consumers. This is not limited to physical systems but also applies to all areas of human social activity. Workplace tasks are no different. Excessive haste in preparing a previous plan document leads to errors during the review phase. If these errors remain undetected during the testing phase, they manifest as critical flaws at the time of service deployment. By this point, any attempt to resolve the problem is too late, since the system automatically functions based on all past decisions. If one ignores past flows and focuses solely on the present, the system will inevitably malfunction. This phenomenon is frequently observed in daily modern life. For instance, a simple omission in mentioning an alternative proposed during a meeting can lead to understanding between team members, blur boundaries of responsibilities, and ultimately delay the entire project. Similarly, in personal work and lifestyle, excessive impulsiveness can lead to health problems, decreasing work efficiency and adversely affecting project progress in company settings. These examples illustrate how unconscious choices from the past manifest over time. The core issue lies in the shifting time frame. Any decision we make today does not solely impact today. Choices made for convenience today might only reveal their adverse effects months or even years later. This is not because past choices merely surface superficially over time, but because the system itself repeatedly reproduces past flows according to its structure. Office workers are at the center of this system. Plan documents, presentation materials, and emails, all mediums in the work process, are components of the system itself, each reflecting past unconsciousness and influencing current choices. The important question here is how can we remember past choices and reflect them in current decisions? The answer lies not merely in the will to avoid repeating the past, but in the ability to systematically analyze past flows and reconstruct current choices. 2. The power of inquiry illuminating the roots of the unconscious. Buddhist scriptures directly address the core of this issue. Practitioners trace the source of suffering, beginning with the question, what is the cause of aging and death? By investigating this chain step by step, they reveal that the root of suffering lies in ignorance. This process is not simply analytical, it is a process of dismantling and restructuring the system itself. The cause of aging and death is birth, the cause of birth is existence, which arises from attachment, attachment from craving, craving from sensation, sensation from contact, contact from perception, perception from consciousness, consciousness from karmic formations, and karmic formations from ignorance. Here, all chains ultimately converge on ignorance. This process is similar to systems in human society. Problems arising in the workplace also originate from ignorance within the unconscious. For example, conflicts among team members are not merely differences in opinion, but the result of collisions between different values and thought patterns. The formation of these values depends on an individual's experiences, education, and environment, the ultimate source being unconscious ignorance. The power of inquiry reveals these chains of ignorance step by step, offering true solutions by seeking the root. The method of inquiry is not merely about finding the cause of a problem, but involves dismantling the structure of the problem itself. Repeated failures in resolving conflicts in the workplace occur because attempts remain confined to addressing superficial causes, e.g., differing opinions. True resolution lies in thoroughly investigating the entire system in which the conflict is embedded, revealing fundamental conditions, e.g., differences in values and unconscious awareness among participants, and reconstructing them. Like Buddhist investigative practice, this requires not just analysis but systematic restructuring. Insight from inquiry transcends temporal boundaries. To understand how past choices affect the present, we must not simply trace back to the past but investigate the present structure created by those choices. For example, today's work plan is a result of decisions made last month and the plans before that, deeply influenced by company policies and market conditions from several years ago. To understand such chains, it is not enough to follow the timeline. One needs the power to deconstruct how each decision at each step projects into the present. 3. Practical insight attitude to deconstruct the chain of the unconscious. To apply the method of inquiry in the daily life of office workers, one must first become aware of the unconscious. Modern work methods are mostly unconscious, leading directly to structural ignorance in systems. For instance, when writing an email, one might unconsciously focus only on conveying their own thoughts without considering how it will be received by the recipient, resulting in clashes with the recipient's unconscious and ultimately hindering work. Deconstructing the unconscious is a step-by-step process. First, to recognize one's own unconscious, one must ask, why did I act this way? This is not merely self-reflection but a process of investigating the structure of the system one's actions are part of. For example, asking why one did not express their opinion in a specific meeting might not be a matter of personal character but rather a result of the interaction between the structural issues of the meeting, e.g., dispersed decision-making authority, and one's own unconscious, e.g., distrust in authority. Second, to understand another's unconscious, one must adopt the perspective of what system does their behavior belong to. This goes beyond viewing conflicts as personal issues and acknowledges differences in the environments that shaped each person's unconscious. For example, a team member handling tasks a certain way might be a result of unconsciousness formed through their experiences and education. Understanding this significantly reduces conflict. Third, deconstructing the unconscious is a long-term strategy rather than a short-term solution. Short-term fixes may distort the structure of the system. Therefore, fundamental solutions require restructuring the system itself. For example, solving communication issues between teams is not about merely increasing meeting times but about rethinking the communication methods and relationships among teams. This involves revealing the root of the problem and restructuring it, rather than merely addressing issues at the point they arise. 4. Attitude to wisely manage the whip of the past. The daily life of a modern office worker is a system in which past unconsciousness is reenacted as the present structure. This system is not simply a function of time but a process of understanding how each decision is projected into the present. The bullwhip effect is not merely a failure in scientific prediction but a representative case illustrating how human unconsciousness influences systems. Buddhist investigative practice, which deconstructs the structure of these systems and reveals their roots, can be applied to the daily life of modern individuals. Office workers need an attitude of investigating their unconsciousness, deconstructing the structure of the system, and reconstructing choices from a long-term perspective. This goes beyond the issue of efficiency and contributes to the reconstruction of human dignity and social relationships. The whip of the past rings at the end, but those who understand and reconstruct that system can wisely manage the whip. This is not merely a workplace issue but a lifelong pursuit of wisdom. Note: this paper is based on the core ideas of the two provided texts without explicitly mentioning or citing particular works. The practicality and insightfulness stem from analyzing the essential structure of the texts and reconstructing them in a modern